just a Michigan-made girl who survived major trauma after major trauma. I moved all over the country in the United States, north, south, east, and west. But it wasn't until I found myself wanting to end my life right smack in the middle of the country that I realized I could no longer run from the pain of my past. I needed to heal it so I could have the future I deserved and longed for. Now I speak on multiple stages and pages about how to turn your tragedies into your triumphs. Here I have fantastic specialists and guests to help me on that journey, to help people not only around the country, but now around the globe. I'm a speaker, podcaster, coach, and author, but most of all, I am now a victor in my life. And now my mission is to help you find the victor in you.
Welcome to Multiform PTSD. Here's your host, Tracy Lowry.
In celebration of Memorial Day, today we are talking to a United States veteran about her experience with being sexually assaulted by two of her commanding officers. Not only that, but her heroic story of recovery and how she continues to help others heal from their post-traumatic stress disorder, working closely with other military veterans, both present and past. Residing in Pennsylvania, Kim Lengling is the mother of a grown daughter and her rescue dog, Dexter. She is a published co-author of 2 collaborative books and the sole author of 1. Additionally, she is the lead author and coordinator of a collaborative 3-book series titled When Grace Found Me, with Volume 1 recently released in December of 2020. Volume 2 will be releasing here shortly, and Volume 3, since recording this podcast, she's actually invited me to be a co-author with for Volume 3 of When Grace Found Me. So we've become great friends since recording this, and you are going to absolutely fall in love with her just like I did. With empathy and emotion, she's been writing since 2004, showcasing her faith, nature, love of rescue animals, and living with PTSD due to military service trauma. She is the host of her own newly launched podcast called Let Fear Bounce, inviting guests to share their stories of letting go or working through fears and shedding light and hope to her listeners. Please help me welcome on this wonderful holiday weekend, Memorial Day, Kim.
Hello, Kim. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Me too.
It's my pleasure. Absolutely.
Go ahead and explain how you served our country first and foremost. Thank you so much for your service.
Oh, you are welcome. Right out of high school, I went into the Air Force right out of high school. And I wasn't really the college type of person. I really didn't have an interest in going to college. My mother, single mom, wasn't really in the cards financially for me to attend college. And I thought, I'll go in the military. And literally that was all the thought that I gave to it.
Oh, wow.
I know, kind of odd, but I like to be different.
Hey,
so I joined the Air Force and got through basic and went into tech school, and I was in military intelligence. I was trained in Morse code. So top secret security clearance and all of that. And it was during that time frame, during the time that I served, and I can't share a lot of what it is I did or where I was or anything, but it was just during that time frame, you know, my life changed a lot in many ways, and set the path for where I am now.
All right. Well, I definitely don't want to have you disclose anything that you shouldn't be disclosing. I understand that you have battled with your own post-traumatic stress. Can you tell us how that came about and how you got to that conclusion?
Yeah, I live with PTSD due to being sexually assaulted while I was in the military by 2 individuals. And at that time, you know, looking back, I'm 53 now. So I look back on my 19-year-old self. And sometimes it's very, very difficult because you look back, and I can look at it from a distance now and see this 19-year-old lost, hurting, on her own, no support system, no family around, having to go through a tremendous trial and struggle. And it wasn't just the event itself, the incident itself, there was also a trial. And if anyone is, military court is not the same as civilian court.
Right.
And that felt as if to that 19-year-old, she just had to continue living it over and over, day after day for months, because
Right.
it went on for months.
Mm.
And the entire time, this 19-year-old girl is made to feel and talked about as if she was not the victim, but the perpetrator. And
Right.
so day after day, to be slammed with that,
Okay.
I often look back and think, how in the hell did you get through that, young lady? How did you do it?
Right.
But she did. And she came out scarred internally and trusted no one.
Mm-hmm.
No one. Which was hard on her family members, her loved ones. And she felt that she was broken and somehow not good enough for anything. And you build those walls, and she was very good at that. You build a wall, and you build it very high, and you build it very strong. So none of that darkness gets out. But when you build a wall so high and so thick, nothing gets in either. Right. So kind of locked yourself in there. And I often, and I notice I'm doing it now, I talk about her,
Mm-hmm.
in third person. It's much easier to do that.
Right.
To share that way. And I've written my story and shared my story in third person. And then I say, well, I am talking about myself. It's just easier to talk about it that way and to share.
Right.
But I look back at her and ask, oh, wow, how did you do it? How did you do it? And other times when I meet or when I'm sharing my story publicly and someone comes forward and says, that was me, or my daughter just went through that, or, that's when I will look back, and I want to look back at my 19-year-old self and say, this sucks so bad, and it's going to suck for a long time, but you will be okay. And you're going to go on and you're going to do amazing things. And you are going to impact people like you have no idea, but you got to get through this first. If I could go back and say that, I would. I would encourage that young lady and say, you are not unworthy. And it took me a long time, years and years, like 12 to 15 years of keeping that all tightly locked away. But then, you can only do that for so long. And walls will crumble. Life happens. All this other stuff, big life things happen, life altering things happen. And then that wall is going to crash down. And all of that other stuff that you've been storing away for so long just comes flying at you from every direction, including all the stuff that you're currently going into in the present day. And it just becomes a swirl of emotion. And you feel like you're losing it. You feel like it brings you to your knees is what it does. That's what happened to me, brought me to my knees. And I was crying out to a God saying, God, please, just those two words. But I was crying out to a God I didn't believe in, because if there was a God, why did all that happen?
Right.
That was my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while, but that God that I was calling out to, I realized, wow, he was with me the whole time. And my faith began to grow. And my faith has gotten stronger and stronger over the years. And now I talk about my faith very openly. I have a 3-book series called When Grace Found Me, and doing all kinds of things that are faith-based around those types of struggles and those types of stories. of women from around the world, and many much, 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 much worse than I've ever went through. And there they are years later, sharing their story and being a light, being a light. And we are called, I believe, through my faith, we are called to be that light. That's what we're here for, to love and care for each other and to be that light. And if I can be a light to someone, even to pinprick, then I can see and understand why my journey started out the way it did. Part of a bigger plan. Do I like the plan? Would I want that plan for anything else ever? No. But it's, it's not up to me. And there is evil in the world, and it's, free will. People make their choices to do the things they do. They can try and blame everything else, but in the end, they made a choice. They made a conscious decision to do something horrid. So, we're also called to forgive. And you're just like, right.
Yeah.
I know. And I am
Easier
very
said
honest.
than done.
Oh my gosh. It is the hardest thing. And this is, it's been over 30 years now. Over 30 years. And I forgive and then I pull it back. I forgive and then I pull it back.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to remind myself, I am probably putting more energy into thinking about that than those two individuals probably ever have.
For sure.
I might and probably am not even a thought. My pastor pointed out to me one time, what if they've been saved, Kim? What if their lives turned around just like yours did? What would you say then? And my answer to my pastor was, I don't give a and that was as honest as I could be. Right. And he kind of chuckled and said, well, we need to work on that. But forgiveness is very hard, very hard.
Yes.
And living with PTSD from that, you can't change history. You can change how you deal with it. And if you deal with it in a healthy manner. So I've learned over the years how to live with PTSD, how to live with the nightmares, how to live with the anxiety, the depression, that sense all of a sudden that comes at you out of nowhere. Wow, you're not worthy of anything. I've learned how to strap my armor on each day and let those poison arrows ping right off me. Because I have my own podcast. It's called Let Fear Bounce. And that's why I named it that.
I see that. I get that now.
Yeah, there's there's a reason behind those three little words.
Right. I figured there was.
So yeah, let the D-man, that's what I call the devil. Let the D-man, let his little poisoned arrows ping right off my armor. Mm-hmm. He's not getting me today. Not today.
Not today,
and
Satan.
That's right. That's right. And sometimes you have to say it every day.
Yeah. Or multiple times a day.
And I was going to say, or several times throughout the day.
For sure.
Then you have your days where it's like you hear the knock and you open up the door and you're like, come on in, Satan, let's party. You have those days where it's like, I just invited him in for the day.
Right.
I'm having a crappy morning. Let's finish off the day that way,
Don't unpack your bags, but.
So, I've learned to deal with it. I went to counseling through the VA, it's called the Vet Center here. Mm-hmm. Amazing people. And you need that. And that's why I do want to encourage people that might be listening. If you're struggling, and it doesn't have to be from being in the military, any traumatic event can leave you with PTSD. So I did, and still do, speak with a counselor through the Vet Center. Mm-hmm. Because you need that, right? I think, at least for me, you need that person from outside your bubble to give you that unbiased look.
Absolutely.
At what's happening in your life. Mm-hmm. And I can say how incredibly helpful that has been. And the tools that they give you, and I always say I carry my little toolbox, my little mental toolbox around.
Yes.
The tools that they give you, because as you age, the way you look at things change.
Mhm.
You might be really doing, fantastic. You're on this wonderful roll. And then one night you've got these god awful nightmares that come back at you.
Right.
You're like, whoa.
Yes.
Yeah. Talking with the counselors and at the vet center and my toolbox and all of that has been incredibly helpful. And I encourage people to seek counseling.
Mhm.
And don't let naysayers stop you. Don't let people say, well, my gosh, it's been years. Why are you still getting counseling? Shouldn't you be better by now? Shouldn't you have just forgotten it by now? Can't you just let it go?
Get over it. Mhm.
Yes. And I've had all of those things said to me
Mhm.
over the years. And I can honestly say each time I hear it, it makes me very angry.
Mhm.
I don't say anything. I used to just fire back.
Right.
It was just immediate defense response.
Right.
But now I say nothing because I realize they don't know what they're talking about. They have not been in my shoes.
Right.
They're not the ones that are living with my anxiety that creeps up on me literally out of nowhere.
Mhm.
I will have no reason to be unhappy or sad. I'm having a fantastic day. And then wham, I'm somewhere and a smell,
Mhm.
just a small waft of something goes by and it'll stop me in my tracks.
Right.
Stop me in my tracks.
Mhm.
Chest gets tight. I start clenching my hands. I start gritting my teeth. And I now I can recognize it, but you can't just erase or forget about a trauma. And like I said earlier, you learn how to, because you become part of it and it's part of you.
Mhm.
It is part of you now. It has shaped you into who you are. And that's either made you a better, more caring person, more empathetic,
Right.
or it's made you bitter and hard.
Right. Or maybe both at one time or another.
I was just going to say, and I started out bitter and hard.
Mhm.
But then I also was very strongly encouraged by people to seek assistance, go talk to somebody.
Good.
And I was very stubborn, but I finally, ended up going, and that made all the difference. It made all the difference in the world.
Absolutely.
And I so encourage any veteran or anyone out there who's went through a trauma, even if it's a family member living with someone who's been through some sort of trauma,
Mhm.
seek help. Seek help. I mean, and there's this a national crisis number, 1-800-273-8255. That's a national number for the United States. Call that number.
Mhm.
If you're a veteran, it's the same exact number, 1-800-273-8255, and then press 1. Takes you right to the Veteran Crisis Hotline. Use that number if you need to. I don't know how many times I have shared that number with people over the years. I'm a huge veteran advocate, have been for years and years. I co-chair a project called Project Support Our Troops, where we send care packages to active duty military every month for 21 years, every single month for 21. I support them in that way. But also we support the families here,
Mhm.
the families that are keeping the home fires burning,
Right.
or when they come home.
Right.
So many have a difficult time transitioning home because military life is not like civilian life.
No.
Two total different worlds.
Very different.
And if
worlds.
someone's been in a combat zone or a war zone and have to be 24/7 on high alert mentally and physically for month after month after month,
Mhm.
just because you come home and you're quote unquote safe now doesn't mean you can just automatically flick a switch in your brain and say, oh, I'm home. I'm the same person I was 3 years ago. It doesn't work that way.
No.
And so we support those that come home and may struggle a little bit with transition. Heck, we support veterans from, still from the Vietnam War. And how long ago was that? 50 years, almost 50 years.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So, and it is. And so many, the bulk of the veteran posts that I'm involved in, they're all combat Vietnam vets.
Mm-hmm.
And so many of them struggle with so many things 40 and 50 years later.
Right.
The Korean vets, the Korean War, that's 70 years. I'm sorry. The Korean War vets, they still struggle. And that's 70 years later. So it's nothing you can just forget about or get over it.
Right.
Doesn't work.
No.
Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. You know, you do have to have a thick skin at times, but seek help, people. Please seek help if you need to. Please. Because you're not alone.
Right.
You're
Right.
not alone. When you're in that dark hole, wow, does it feel like you're alone? No one's ever going to understand what I'm going through. No one is ever going to get it. I am a piece of crap. I don't deserve to even be here. I am such a mess. No one can help me. I'm beyond help. All these thoughts that so many people have thought or said out loud or cried out loud, that's fear talking, and fear is a liar.
Right. But it's also very loud.
It is very loud, bullhorn loud.
Mm.
Don't believe it. That's why you need someone from the outside. Just reach out. And I had a young Marine I was helping out one time, and he was in a really, really bad spot. He had no interest in living. And I said, you know, I am not equipped for this, Marine. I'm not a counselor. I go, so I'm just going to flat out tell you what I think. Boom. And I kind of laid into him and kept saying Marine, calling him Marine. And his whole demeanor changed. As I said that, you could see him start to stand up straighter. Now, did I go about it the right way? I have no idea, but that's what I felt how it needed to be done. And because he wouldn't look me in the eye, he was all hunched and he'd always look at the ground. And I don't, I can't do this and I don't deserve this. But as I kept saying Marine, and like, I was kind of getting loud and in his face. By the time I was done doing my, he was standing up straight, looking me in the eye with this like look on his face. And I'm thinking, I just really pissed off a Marine. And is there a different breed?
Yes.
And he looked me right in the eye with this look of determination. He goes, so what you're saying, ma'am, is it's time for me to put my pride to the side. Ooh. And I went, that shortened it up. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Put your pride to the side and let me help you.
Right.
And he did. It took a while. And he would reach out to me every couple months, either text me or shoot me a private message and say, hey, I got a job. Hey, I kept the job. I'm still there. And I'm like, it was just awesome. It was awesome. And then probably, 2-3 years later, he said, remember I had told you I'd been fighting and appealing my claim for years and years. And I said, yeah. And he had been appealing it for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
And I was helping him get him to the right people to help him continue that. I ran into a convenience store getting gas one day. And he said, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're right here in front of me. Guess what I just found out today? And I said, what? And he said, I was just awarded my claim and I got retroactive pay for the last 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Said, I couldn't believe it. And he didn't even look the same. He didn't look like the same person. He looked really healthy. His skin was cleared up. He had a healthy complexion. I almost busted down crying right there while pumping gas. Because I'm thinking, you know what? Several years when I first met him, he was living in a hovel, literally a hovel. No water, no electric, no nothing. I mean, no furniture either. And he kept saying, I've slept in worse places. And I said, well, not on my watch. You're home now. So you're not sleeping here on my watch. It was a battle to get him anything, to get him a bed. He said, just get me a mattress. I said, no, I'm getting you a bed.
Right.
And no one willingly, most of the time willingly reaches out for help. They need that nudge. And right. I have found, and I've found it because I work with so many veterans for, was it 24 years now? They're the toughest nuts to crack. I will say that, and then people that know me, my veteran brothers and sisters, will laugh and say, you were there too. You were in that same spot. No, I don't need help. I'm tough enough. I'm a veteran.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So it's, yeah, I know. I'm like, they're like, yeah, hold up a mirror. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Hindsight,
Oh, yes.
But I'm always, and it's very hard. It's very hard to ask for help because you have had to be so strong for so long. You're not sure how to be any other way. And you're fighting battles that no one else knows about. And you don't want to burden other people with them. Or you think that people might think you're crazy, but you're not. You've just got a lot of stuff. I'm like, no, you're not crazy. You're filled with incredible strength and courage. It's just time to settle now.
Right.
You don't have to fight every day anymore. So let's work on that.
Right.
Don't say forget about it. Let's work on it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. The outside battle is done. Now let's work on the internal battles.
And those are big.
Yeah. And they last
because so often it lasts. Yes, I was just going to say it lasts longer than the actual incident itself. I was talking to one gentleman. He's actually a friend of mine. He retired from the Army. He's a helicopter pilot, and he was strafing a rooftop. That was his job. That's what he had to do. But then as he was done and was able to turn and look back, it was a family with children, and he can't forgive himself for that. And he says that never, ever leaves his mind. I can't put myself in his shoes.
Right.
And I would never, ever, ever judge him either, because he was put in a spot that was either them or him.
Right.
So on one end of the building, you've got someone shooting at you. And because these people are the way they are, they put women and children up there too with them.
Right.
Their weird way of thinking. So you have to make a choice.
Right.
Them or me.
Yeah.
And, I've never been put in that circumstance, and I really hope I never am, but I would never judge, and I don't, those that have been put in that situation. And there's many, 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 many that have.
Right.
And most of them are veterans. I can't imagine the demons that they battle every day.
No kidding.
Or, the loss of their comrades that they saw perish right beside them, or they were blown to pieces in front of them. I've talked to them all. They've shared very, very graphic stories with me. I listen because they need to let that go. They need to get it off.
Yes.
And sometimes it's like, it's like this big vomit. They just have to spew it out. And I listen willingly. But then I'm one of those really empathetic people that I also take it on, it lands.
Yeah.
And then I don't sleep. Then I don't sleep for a few nights, and then my going again. So I had to find a healthy balance with that too over the years. I would not change being a person that listens to them for anything, because everybody's battle's different. A battle is a battle.
Yeah.
And for each person, it's so different. It might seem small compared to the person next to you, but to you, that's your battle. That's huge. That's causing you distress. That's causing you sleepless nights. That's causing you night sweats and night terrors and anxiety and everything that comes with it. That person next to you, it could be 10 times worse. We don't know. Everybody has their own battle that they're fighting when they're dealing and living with PTSD or, things like that. I have nothing but tremendous respect, because I see so much courage and strength and power. And you might be in a storm and it's just swirling around you, and it feels like your umbrella's broken. Your boots have holes in them.
Mm-hmm.
You're just getting slammed. Within that storm, there is tremendous strength.
Yeah.
Because you got through it initially.
Mm-hmm.
You're reliving it now, but you got through it.
Right.
And you got all this strength. I got through the real thing.
Right.
I can get through this memory of it now.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it takes forever. And you're going to have good days and you're going to have total crap days, but you can get through it. There's strength in the storm. There is strength in the storm. There's also beauty in there too. Mm-hmm. There's beauty in that strength.
Mm-hmm.
And you might come out scarred, and battle weary, and maybe batty. I don't know. Might feel batty some days. You come out scarred and battle weary, but wow,
Yeah.
there's beauty in there too. Tremendous strength and beauty. And I firmly believe that, and I will stick by that for always, because that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is.
I stand by right there with you.
I don't even remember what question you asked me. I just know that I just rambled forever. So
It was a good ramble. It was a good ramble, though. I feel like you answered like half of them just within that speech. I truly appreciate what you do. I typically focus more on the non-military side of PTSD because I've not been in the military. I've not been in the war. I was around lots of military. I was married into the military. I have experience and much mad respect for those who have served. So thank you so much. But I don't feel like I can serve them very well because it's a very different type of PTSD. But I wanted to bring you on here because I don't want to ignore that side of it. So you just spoke eloquently to that. And when you discussed with these military men and women, you talked about how they were just able to just word vomit just to get it all out. And that is due hugely to the safe space that you create for them. And because you do get it, you do understand, maybe not their specific situations, but you understand the military, you understand how it works, you understand how they really do just train your brain to wire differently because they have to. And you get all those things and they know that you get it. So you are still serving, as far as I'm concerned, you are still serving in the military because you're serving our military men and women. And like you said, I do want to get that information from you and help to support the organization you spoke of that you have been a part of that helps send packages over to military overseas and their families at home. Because as far as I am concerned, those families at home are serving too, because they're trying to keep the home front together, the family together, the finances, and every day they're worried about every time that phone rings. What does that,
right,
who's on the other end? Is my loved one okay? And that's just a whole
right.
other kind of trauma that I don't think we talk near enough about.
Yeah, people they just don't think about it.
No.
They just don't think about it because, and especially over the last year, it's just been crazy with this whole
Yes.
pandemic thing.
Yes.
And so many people are struggling on so many different levels.
Mm-hmm.
But we still do have people being deployed.
Right.
We still do have people serving in very hot spots right now. You just don't think about it because, and I'm not judging because I've done the same thing myself. Even you have all this stuff, your own stuff going on. You're in your own bubble. You're not really thinking about, oh, should I spend an extra $20 at the store to pick up some donations because you're like, I can't afford an extra $20 right now because husband lost his job, been out of work for 8 months, no idea if he's ever going to find another one because all these businesses are closing. It's just, craziness. But when you're in it, if you're a veteran or you're in that veteran community, we think about it all the time. It's just,
Right.
it's
Part of your
a
world.
thing. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Can I go back to your experience as far as the sexual transgression that happened to you while you were in the military? Can I go back to that for just a moment and ask you a question?
Sure.
Were they men that you trusted at the time?
Yes, there's a certain, there's a hierarchy in the military
Oh no.
of ranking.
Uh-huh. Was it a higher
And,
rank?
oh, sure. Yes, it was. Absolutely. So they were, two individuals that I had to answer to every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Because did you still have to answer to these men even during the trial and the questioning and all of that? Were they still your superior or were you able to get?
No, they were pulled away from their positions and I had to be put in a different area, and I couldn't go anywhere unless I had two guys with me. It became a very volatile situation for me because who was I trying to ruin the careers of these two upstanding people? Who was this 19-year-old girl trying to ruin the careers of these two military men? That was a whole nother aspect of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm thinking of some of the listeners out there and people that I've talked and worked with. How did you find the strength? I know lots of rape and sexual assault isn't reported for just that reason, whether it be someone who is their superior or, you know, they're scared of what they're going to do. They're scared they're not going to be believed, belittled. I mean, there's endless reasons why people decide not to do that. And I am absolutely not judging that at all. I didn't tell on mine. So I get it.
I didn't either.
How did
It
you
was
find that
noticed.
strength?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I often look back and, you know, I'm like, how in the world? I didn't say anything. I didn't want to tell any, and I wasn't going to tell anybody. But my roommate at the time, we're in the female barracks, she had noticed bruises on me. Where the hell did those come from? Yeah, I don't even know what I said. Made up some sort of story. My attitude and demeanor changed, and it was becoming noticed by a lot of people. And so I was strongly encouraged to go talk to the post chaplain. And I said, I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. Well, then I was really strongly encouraged to speak to the post chaplain. So I did, thinking when I left there, that was between him and I. Next day, I'm pulled into the commander's office and just questioned. Bam, 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 bam. And I just, with zero respect for my commanding officer. I mean, none. And military is all about form and respect. And I had none at this moment. And I said, my talking to him was supposed to be kept confidential. What the hell's going on? And I was berated for speaking to my commanding officer in that tone. And who did I think I was? And what kind of game was I playing? And that's how it started. So it truly did feel like me against the world.
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
It was at that time. It was my world at
Your
that
world.
time.
Yeah.
It was awful. It really was. It truly was. And I have no idea. Honestly, to this day, I have no one thing that I can look back to say, this is what got me through. I think it was just pure determination and grit. A lot of it was, I flicked a switch. I had flicked a switch in my brain. No emotion. I do remember, because I was grabbed in a parking lot, put in a car and taken away. And I was able to escape. I was able to get away the next morning, and it was really cold. It was winter, really, really, really cold where I was at. And I remember running, and as I ran, over and over in my head, never again, never again, never again, never again, never again. And something flicked off as I ran. And that was, I think, a defense and a safety mechanism for myself. The trick was years later to be able to switch it back. As I ran, that is something I can actually recall. I purposely flicked a switch. I think that's how I got through it, because I flicked a switch, that mental switch.
Fair. It was a defense mechanism. And I can't, my heart goes out to you. It truly, truly does. And I think anyone who's been in a similar situation knows exactly what you mean by I had to flip the switch. I just had to turn it off because that's the only way you could deal with it at the moment. So fast forward, how has that affected future relationships? Because I know that can really turn things upside down in future relationships.
Well, I'm twice divorced, so it's hard. I am not able to 100% trust anyone. I'm honest enough to admit that.
That's huge.
Did I choose the right people to marry? Maybe not. But I also know it takes two to make it work.
Absolutely.
So I'm honest enough to say, was I part of the demise of both of those marriages? More than likely. But I also know that it wasn't completely 100% me. But I do know that I do struggle giving 100% trust. I do struggle opening my heart 100% to somebody.
And that's fair.
That's about it. That's about as honest as I can be.
And I applaud you for it, because that's not easy to do. We're all about honest and authenticity because that's how we heal, is by being honest with ourselves, honest about the situation, because I feel if we are in those kind of situations, we need to feel the feelings of those. And there's a lot of people out there, they have the best of intentions, but their theory is almost you have to just think positive. You have to just, think of the positive. And I think there's a process. It's like the grieving process. You have to work through those times, those emotions, those feelings, give them a voice, all of those things. Don't unpack and stay there. Then, there comes a time where you need to move forward and learn how to, like you said, cope and move forward with your life. Those scars will always be there, but you can still move on and move forward and onward and upward. There's a process. And if we just cover it with positive, 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 our subconscious is going, you are a liar. I've done it. I've tried the whole, just think positive. And in my back of my mind, it's you don't believe that crap.
Yeah.
And that's not healing. That's
I am all about keeping it real.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, like you mentioned, they don't like hearing it.
Right.
They don't want to hear the real.
Mm-hmm.
They want to hear the watered down version because that makes them feel better. Well, I'm not here to make you feel better if I'm sharing my story.
Right. Absolutely.
This is my personal story. This is what I went through. This is how I feel.
Yes.
I would never try and tell someone else how to feel.
Right.
Oh, come on, just think positive. You'll be fine. Or take a pill, it'll make you feel better.
And I do think most of the people who say these lines that we go, oh yeah, no, I think they mean well. They're just very on the wrong track with it. I don't see anything wrong with being on medication. I have been on medication.
Oh, no.
And I still am.
No, I didn't mean that at all.
No, I know.
If someone says, oh, that'll make it better.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't you just tell me to go start drinking?
Yeah. Right.
Have a beer. That'll make you feel better.
Help. It does not help.
I know.
Long term, it does not. It does not.
Nope.
In fact, it often will make things worse. But
Yes.
Thank you for eloquently telling your story and being very upfront about it and honest about it and raw about it, because like I said, that's how we heal. And if we're not sharing the real story and even the yucky parts, those out there who are struggling too, who are maybe in the worst part of things, the dark hole, and if all we talk about is, oh, well, I had a little mishap, but now everything's fine and everything's happy, and that's not going to give anyone a good picture of what recovery looks like, healing looks like, that it's possible, but it's work. It's not just all of a sudden one day I just felt great and everything was fine. It doesn't work that way. It's a process. And if we
I've been living with it for over 30 years.
Right.
And I'm not saying I'm a walking ball of mess every day. But I'm a normal person. You have your crappy days. Only on a normal crappy day for me, other things might start coming in. Other things start pinging in. And that's why I was talking about my toolbox earlier. That's when I just, open up my toolbox and say, all right, how do we, what are we going to use for this one?
Yes.
So, redirection of thoughts and keeping busy or keep getting physically active. And mine for me, the big thing for me is I got my dog here. He's a rescue dog. Absolutely adore him. When I have those days, and I work from home now, when I have those days, or, and you can feel it coming. I always say you can feel it creeping up.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I grab my dog and say, we're going for a walk. Let's go. And I'm outside. And that's what works for me. Getting outside, I can just breathe. In with the good and out with the bad.
Absolutely. Yes. So let's talk about your beautiful dog. I'm going to pull up a picture of your beautiful Dexter. Look at those eyes. Speaking of your dog, beautiful. So did you get this dog specifically to be an emotional support animal for you, or did it just work out that way?
I had a dog before him named Digger for 14 years. And Digger was so in tune with me. And oh my goodness, the amount of tears that fell on his fur. But he was so in tune. He would wake me up from nightmares. He knew when I was going to have an anxiety attack because he was there with me years ago when I was just starting the whole process of healing. I had to say goodbye to him, which was absolutely completely crushing to me. That sent me in I went into a downward spiral for 3 months. It was horrible. It was actually very hard to crawl out of that one because he was
The support.
my rock. Yeah. He was my guy. I told everybody, this is my old boy. So it took me about 6 months because I said, I can never do this again, ever, because my heart is broken. But then I also realized I cannot walk into the completely silent house with nothing here to care for or nothing to greet me. I can't do it anymore. That was actually becoming very unhealthy for me.
Gotcha.
And I don't drink, I don't do drugs, never have. I've never turned that direction. Thank goodness. I'm so thankful that I never went that way. What I do is I just go into a dark hole, crawl on the couch and fall asleep, and everybody leave me alone. I don't care how long I sleep. You know what I mean? Just I cut the world.
Yeah.
So I was like, nah. So all of a sudden I started getting this little nudge. This one day I was working outside the home at the time. I was on my way to work. And this little nudge in my head, this little voice, there's a dog that needs you. And I'm driving, I literally went like this. And I'm like, no way. No. No way. All day long, there's a dog that needs you. Kept coming into my head randomly. There's a dog that needs you. And I'm like, then I looked up, are you kidding me? You know, I'm like, I can't do this, God. So what do? I get on the local, Humane Society page. They have one dog in there at that time. That day that I looked, they had one dog. He has a fawn body, a black head, white toes, a white patch on his chest, and one blue eye and one brown eye. I went, wow, he's really unique looking, very, very different, kind of like me. He'll fit in my realm fine. So, and I told myself, I'm going to sit on the floor and not say a word and not move because he has to choose me.
Yeah.
Because I need a dog that trusts me enough, and they bring him in. He's all skinny and skittish and fearful. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, all right, not going to move. I didn't move, didn't whisper, didn't do a thing. And for 10 minutes, he would kind of scoot up real skittish and then jump back and, reach out and sniff a little bit and jump back. And then he finally started touching me with his nose and he licked my hand a little bit. Then he sat right beside me, leaned against me, put his chin on my shoulder.
Oh.
And blue eye. And so I literally, the first time I moved, I just turned my head and all I could see is that ice blue eye looking up at me. And I went, and that was the first time I said anything. I went, so you're coming home with me then? So he chose me. And that's what I did. I brought him home. It took him about 3 months to settle in. He was very skittish. I think they didn't have any background on him. They say he was a stray. So I think he was probably abused at one point. And he took his time, and now I've had him 2 years, and he's now getting to that point where he's always near me. Oh, all right. We're getting that higher level connection going on here.
Syncing up.
Yes, we're syncing. So it's, it just kind of worked that way, I guess. To answer your question, it just kind of worked that way.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful though. It's very similar with mine. Mine, I think, was abused before we got her. And it was just all of a sudden, like I had been playing with getting a dog, just kind of playing with the idea. And all of a sudden it was just boom, it's time.
Yeah.
And I was like,
isn't that a kicker?
Yeah. And so I went on Facebook and I just threw out some, hey, looking for a dog, let me know if you know of any. And literally within probably 30 seconds, I got a response from someone who just lives right here near me and said, hey, I've got this dog I think would be great for you guys. She doesn't like being in the city. I was like, okay, good with kids because I have a son. and it just clicked. And I think she was mistreated at one time because she too was very skittish at first, and now there was a really tough time for me and my son there for a little bit, and we were both sitting on the floor, and she just went between us. It's like she couldn't decide which one was more upset and which one needed her more, and she just went between us and just like laid on us and
Yeah.
loved on us, and it was the sweetest thing ever. So luckily she's adopted both me and my son, so that's exactly, she's the perfect dog.
Dogs are just the best.
They really are.
That picture I think I sent you, it's like when I first took that and I looked at it, I went, wow, he looks like a big boy. You know, like, look at me, I am Dexter.
Yeah. So my last question, I ask all of my season 2s the same question. And you've kind of alluded to it, but I want to be a little more specific. What would you say to that listener who right now is in that dark hole, has experienced maybe a sexual trauma, or maybe is just remembering about one that she had or he had in the past, any kind of trauma, and they just don't know what to do, and they're not even sure if they want to try anymore? What would you say to them?
You are in such a crappy spot right now. It is so dark where you're at, and you 100% feel that no one's going to get it. No one's going to understand it. If I reach out, people are going to think I'm crazy, or they might not believe me, or they're going to look at me and see me as unworthy or dirty or broken. And I want to tell you, you can feel all of those things, but they're not true. They are not true. There's so much courage and strength in you, because I don't care how far down in the darkness that you personally are right now, you still have strength. You still have strength in there. And you're not alone. Look up. Look up. I was told once on one of my darkest days by a veteran, actually. He said, "Kid, you look like you're hanging on by your fingertips at the bottom of that big old barrel. Your issue is you're not looking up." He said, "So keep on hanging on, even if it is by your fingertips, and keep scrabbling to get out of there, because that's not where you're supposed to be. It's not where you're meant to be. You're not meant to be in the dark. There is light out there. Just turn your eyes up, reach your hand out, because there's a lot more out there that have been through something similar like you. There's more than you realize. So you're never alone. You're going to feel that way. I can guarantee it. I can guarantee you're going to feel that way. But the lie in that is when you tell yourself you're alone and you believe it, you're not alone. Reach out to somebody. Doesn't have to be a family member or even a friend. Reach out to a counselor. Use that phone number, the crisis hotline, but reach out to somebody. Sometimes it's easier to vent all of that stuff on a stranger. Do it, because you're worth it. You're here for a purpose, and you're worth it, and you're amazing, and you're beautiful. You're not meant to stay in the dark, dear heart. You are not meant to stay in the dark.
Well said. Well said, my friend. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you. I appreciate all you do for our military still and their family members, and your encouragement going from the barrel to where we are now. And I don't, like you said, I don't think there's ever a moment where we're cured and it's all better. But I think there's definitely a time where life can be better, and it can be fulfilling, and you can enjoy things again, and accomplish and be successful and have fun again. It's absolutely possible after any kind of trauma, and just
That is right.
hanging on and looking up. Focus on where you want to be and where you want to go, not where you've been, because you're not there anymore.
And just think of, you in turn can turn around and be that light for somebody else.
Yes.
That's where the beauty in your struggle is. Turning that around and being the light for someone else. That is the beauty from that struggle.
Yes.
Right there.
Yes. And in fact, that's why I got started in doing all this, writing books and doing a podcast, and it was part of my healing. But it was when I changed my mindset from victim to all this happened to me and oh my goodness, and I turned it to, wait a minute, no, yeah, it did happen, I can't change it, but it's not about me anymore. I have gone through that, and I too am a woman of faith, and I there for a while was like, I would look up often and go, really? Again? I mean, just really second guessing whether he really loved me, knew about me, or whatever. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. But I finally realized, and I heard one day, you went through all of these different things so then you can help others. And I was like, well, how in the world am I supposed to do that? Well, here I am, hopefully living that mission. But
Yeah.
It's when you turn that mindset around from being a victim to turning around and how can I use this for my good and for other people's good? And you can truly be, because it was people I listened to that helped me get out. I mean, the Tony Robbins and the Brene Browns, and I mean, it was them. They're my mentors, and they don't even know who I am, but they were a huge part of how I got myself out. And so if I can play any small part in that with what I do, then it was all worth it.
That, and you said that you use your writing and your podcast and all that. And it's, I am the same way. It's very cathartic.
Mm-hmm.
It's very cathartic. That's why I started the When Grace Found Me series,
mm-hmm.
the book series, because I'm thinking I need more than just my story being tossed out there to help people.
Right.
And so gathered all these other women. Actually, I didn't gather them. They just kind of came. That's a God thing right there, though.
I was going to say.
Pretty much.
That was meant to be. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
Because I started out with one book. I was like, I'll do a book. I felt very strongly urged by him. Yeah, I'll do one book. Within a week, I'm like, oh, I guess it has to be 2 books now because I have too many people.
Right.
And now we're almost finished with the second book, getting ready to get it published here in like a month and a half to 2 months. And I have enough for a 3rd book.
Awesome.
So I'm going, wow, okay. So the journey still continues and I still have people coming. So I'm going to start a 2nd series. And I threw that out in the world the other day. I'm like, all right, I'm claiming it now because I threw it out there. Absolutely. I'm starting a 2nd series because I have so many women continuing as they hear. They're like, hey, do you have a spot in that? I have a story I'd love to share. So I'm starting my 2nd series, which is going to be called When Hope Found Me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one because the first one, When Grace Found Me, and all the women, all 60 of them that have come forth, they're all women of faith. They're all sharing their story of faith when Grace found them. And the 2nd series, that can be anybody coming forward.
Right.
I don't want people to think that it's this, you have to be a Christian to share your story of hope. Right. You don't. I've had a couple ladies in those books that were not believers.
Mm.
And over the journey, one of them became one.
Oh,
became
look
a believer.
at you.
Yeah, that
Awesome.
was a wow God moment.
No kidding.
I thought, well, if that's why I was supposed to do those books for that one person.
No kidding.
That's another little tidbit. Always listen to those nudges because you never know.
Yes.
You
Absolutely.
never know where it's going to take you.
And you never know.
My story. And now it turned into 3 books and now it's going to turn into another series. And this is literally 1 year ago.
Wow, you go, girl.
I'm telling you, on fire.
No kidding.
Here's what the first one looks like.
I love it.
Can you see it?
Yep.
This has been great. Thank you.
This has been great. Thank you so much for being here and all that you do and sharing your story and your energy and your passion. It comes through. And I appreciate that.
Love doing it.
Well, thank you. And we will be in touch.
All right. Take care.
Hey, it's Tracy. So thank you so much for listening. Make sure you're sharing with your friends, your coworkers, your family, or anyone else you think might be really needing to hear this content on how to heal and overcome from obstacles and tragedies and traumas. That's why we're here, so people can know that they're not alone, get some real good tips on how to better their life and to heal and to really be triumphant in their life and have a life that they can be excited about again. So thanks for being here.
And you need that. And that's why I do want to encourage people that might be listening. If you're struggling, and it doesn't have to be from being in the military, you know, any traumatic event can leave you with PTSD. And he's got a bone. He's going to start throwing it, just so you know.
Not a problem.
He must have found one. Hi. I thought I had them all hidden. We have like 12. Hi.
Toys or dogs?
Oh, no, a bone.
Okay. I was like, you're never going to stop the sound of 12 dogs.
Hey, go lay down, bud. That's a good boy. Okay. So I just want to warn you, he's gonna start throwing it.
All right, not a problem.
He woke up. Okay, I don't remember where I was.
Those of you who are
wonderful
listening.
Roll, and then one night you've got these god awful nightmares that come back at you.
Right.
You're like, whoa,
Why
is that happening again?
Cam, did I lose you? Kim, if you can hear me, you're frozen, and I cannot hear you.
And thank goodness.
Oh, you're moving.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? I tell you.
I'm sorry to laugh.
I know.
I have to tell you,
Oh.
when it froze you, you literally had the face of like, it was like the worst time to freeze it. I
Of
won't
course it was.
promise. I'll cut it out.
You sit there going, hey. Oh.
I needed
I
to
know.
laugh, man. Thank you.
I'm glad I'm not the source of that for you today.
I'm not laughing at you,
Okay.
I promise.
Sure. Yeah,
I'm really not.
sure.
Oh, whew.
Okay, so what was I saying? Vet center. Okay, so
You still go.
the vet center.